The speculators left, the flippers moved on, and the watches they were hoarding, still here, sitting on secondary market listings at prices that would have gotten you laughed out of a watch forum 3 years ago. The correction everybody said couldn't happen already did, and these are 10 superb watches you can now actually buy for cheap. Number 10. Grand Seiko SBGA 211 Snowflake. There's a listing on watch charts right now. Grand Seiko Snowflake, full set, 2024 service paperwork, $3,100. The same watch that couldn't be found under $5,000 during the height of the pandemic buying frenzy. This is what the correction looks like at the edges. Not a catastrophic collapse, but something quieter. A spring drive movement inside a 41mm high-intensity titanium case, handcrafted at the Shinshu Watch Studio in Nagano, the same facility that also produces movement components for Seiko's finest mechanical work. The dial is ground from actual hardened steel before it's given a matte white finish that catches the light differently at every angle. Grand Seiko calls the texture Shimo Fury, which translates roughly to frost. One glance at the thing in sunlight and you understand immediately why it's been nicknamed the Snowflake since 2010. The spring drive caliber 9 R65 doesn't behave like a standard mechanical movement. It uses a mainspring to drive the gear train, then regulates the train's speed with a tiny silicon glide wheel that brakes electromagnetically. No escapement, no tick. The seconds hand glides, and accurate to within 1 second per day on average. It's more precise than most entry-level Swiss automatics half its price. Omega's coaxial METAS certification operates on a comparable principle of magnetic field resistance, but the spring drive does it mechanically, without any quartz component whatsoever. So why is it trading at $3,000 to $4,500 on the secondary market when retail sits near $6,000? Because Grand Seiko got swept up in a wave it didn't create. Between 2021 and 2023, horologically curious buyers who couldn't find a Rolex at any price started discovering Japanese alternatives. The SBGA 211 was the obvious gateway. It already had a reputation among serious collectors. It got hyped. People paid premiums. Then the speculators drifted back toward whatever was moving fastest, and the Grand Seiko sat there, exactly as good as it always was, priced in a way that finally makes sense. The person who buys this now isn't chasing a trend. They're getting one of the most technically fascinating movements in production, inside a case finished to a standard that rivals anything Geneva puts out at twice the price, at a discount that existed only because someone briefly decided it was a flip opportunity. The frostwork on that dial will look the same in 20 years. The bargain window, though, won't stay open. That's the underdog of the list. But this next one is where things start getting uncomfortable for the watch industry. 9. Zenith Chronomaster Sport. Walk into any watch retailer in late 2021 and ask for the Chronomaster Sport. They'd look at you apologetically and write your name on a wait list. The watch had just launched, and the El Primero 3600 movement inside it, oscillating at 36,000 vibrations per hour, 10 beats per second, capable of measuring to 1/10 of a second, had the enthusiast press describing it as a renaissance moment for a caliber that's been in production since 1969. By 2025, you could find it in stock. By 2026, dealers are selling gray market examples below the $9,500 retail price. The El Primero 3600 is a modified variant of the caliber that Zenith designed and manufactured in-house, independently, without Rolex's assistance, in time to become one of 3 movements ever approved by NASA for its space shuttle program. Patek Philippe borrowed the El Primero's base for early Nautilus complications. Rolex used it, renamed it, and powered the Daytona with it for nearly 2 decades before developing their own in-house caliber. The movement Zenith built had that kind of DNA. The Chronomaster Sport packages the updated El Primero in a 42mm steel case with a ceramic bezel, a tricolor subdial layout that references the original 1969 model, and a column wheel visible through the sapphire caseback. Retail at $9,500 in the US. Secondary market in 2026, you'll find clean examples, full kit, under $9,000. Some forum sellers are moving them for $8,000 and change. But honestly, I keep coming back to why this watch got ignored after the initial burst. It's an in-house movement, a long production history, a case design that hasn't aged badly, and a price point below what most buyers are paying for far less technically interesting alternatives. The only explanation I can land on is brand momentum. Zenith doesn't have Rolex's waitlist mythology or Omega's NASA story as cultural shorthand. They have the actual history, the actual movement, and right now, they also have the prices. Because here's something the enthusiast press doesn't discuss often enough. Rolex used Zenith's engine for nearly 2 decades. They licensed an El Primero derivative and called it the caliber 4030. The brand that currently sells a Daytona for $16,900 at retail built its chronograph reputation on a movement from a company whose watches you can pick up below $9,000 today. That connection matters, not because it diminishes Rolex, but because it explains exactly what you're getting when you buy the watch that was good enough for them to borrow. Zenith getting overlooked made sense in the hype market. The next brand getting overlooked, a little harder to explain. Before we move on to the next part, let me tell you this. Most people don't realize this, but buying a watch the wrong way can cost you thousands, and you won't even notice it until it's too late. That's why I created a complete insider guide to buying watches. The goal is simple. I'll help you stop guessing and start buying smart. You'll find the guide in the pinned comment and description. Now, let's move on to the next part. 8. Breitling Avenger B1 Chronograph 44. Breitling has a problem that has nothing to do with the quality of its watches. The problem is Navitimer. For decades, the Navitimer has been the brand's entire public identity, the aviation chronograph with the slide rule bezel the watch Breitling exists to produce. Everything else gets treated like supporting evidence. The Super Ocean is for divers who couldn't afford a Submariner. The Colt is for buyers who wanted a Breitling badge without the commitment. And the Avenger? The Avenger is the watch the brand produces for people who want something serious and can't quite articulate why they didn't just buy the Navitimer. That reputation is wrong, and it's costing buyers. The Avenger B1 Chronograph 44 is powered by the Breitling manufacturer Caliber B1, a fully in-house movement developed at Breitling's production facility in La Chaux-de-Fonds. 70 hours of power reserve, COSC certified. Column wheel chronograph with vertical clutch, which produces a much smoother start of the chronograph hand than a lateral clutch design. The case is rated to 300 meters water resistance, making it a legitimate tool watch rather than a dress watch in diver clothing. 44 millimeters, which is large enough to feel intentional rather than oversized. Retail runs about $9,000 for the steel variant. Secondary market in 2026 has steel examples with papers trading between $7,500 and $8,500 depending on condition and seller urgency. Breitling's secondary market performance has been chronically weak across its portfolio, and the Avenger suffers additionally from the brand's identity problem. The collector community doesn't quite know where to put it, so they undervalue it. That's the opportunity right there. The B1 caliber inside the Avenger is the same movement powering the Navitimer B1 and the Chronomat B1, watches that command higher prices for reasons that are largely aesthetic and historical rather than technical. The Avenger gives you the same engine, the same manufacturing provenance, the same COSC certification, in a case that happens to look like what it actually is. A purpose-built instrument watch from a brand that has been making them since 1884. A watch you seek thread from early 2025 put it bluntly. The Avenger B1 is the most under-owned interesting watch Breitling makes. It gets no love because it has no story, but it has the movement, and the movement is the story. Forum consensus occasionally gets things right. Breitling being overlooked is an old pattern. The next one is different. This is a cultural icon at a rational price. Number 7. TAG Heuer Monaco. In 1971, Jack Heuer put the Monaco on Steve McQueen's wrist for the film Le Mans. Square case, blue dial, left side crown. It was the first automatic chronograph with a square case ever put into production, and it broke every convention about what a serious sports watch was supposed to look like. Heuer sold 4 times the standard number of Monacos in 1970 alone because of that association. The watch became one of the most recognizable timepieces of the 20th century. That moment, and the 50 years of mythology built around it, is what TAG Heuer has been selling ever since. The mythology is real. The film is real. McQueen's wrist is undeniable. But here's what happened. Buyers started asking what was inside the square case. The current Monaco is powered by the Caliber 12, a Valjoux-based movement that Tag Heuer sources externally. At $5,000 to $6,000 retail, depending on configuration, you're paying almost entirely for the name and the shape. Secondary market in 2026 has clean Monacos, full set, unworn or lightly worn, moving between $3,800 and $4,600, significant discounts off retail. For a watch with a direct line to Steve McQueen and Le Mans, that gap is telling you something. It's telling you that buyers have started looking at what's inside the square case rather than what's on the outside. The Caliber 12, based on an ETA 2894 modified movement, isn't a bad movement. It's a competent, reliable, serviceable chronograph. But in a category where Zenith will sell you an El Primero and Breitling will sell you a B1 for comparable money, competent stopped being enough. The cultural story hasn't changed. The collector community has just gotten sophisticated enough to ask for both the story and the movement at once. The buyer who picks one up at $4,000 now gets a watch with a specific history, a square case design that almost no modern watches attempt, and a secondary market trajectory that has cooled from its McQueen anniversary spike back to something rational. McQueen's wrist is still in the lineage. The premium for it came down. There's something worth noting about what a Monaco at $4,000 actually means in practice. In 1969, the original Monaco retailed at the equivalent of roughly $1,000 in today's money. The square case was controversial. One Heuer distributor reportedly told Jack Heuer the design wouldn't sell in their territory and refused the allocation. The watches ended up in other markets. 50 years later, that square case is the reason anyone cares about the watch at all, and the people who refused it are footnotes. The buyer who picks one up right now gets to sit on the right side of that history. Not because they made the brave call in 1969, because they were patient enough in 2026 to buy something unfashionable at a fair price. Own a Tag Heuer? Which model, and would you buy it again? The Monaco is a cultural artifact at a discount. The next watch is a different kind of story entirely. 6. IWC Pilot's Watch Mark XX. In late 2025, Patek Philippe raised US retail prices by 22.4% in a single year. IWC raised its own prices that same year, multiple rounds. The tariff math meant Swiss watches landed in the United States with a compounding premium that made every mid-tier luxury model feel suddenly expensive. Then something unexpected happened. Buyers stopped showing up at the same rate. The secondary market for IWC's Pilot line, already trading below retail before the increases, dropped further. The Mark XX, which launched in 2022, now trades at roughly 40 to 50% below its $5,500 retail on the secondary market. Clean examples with full kit are regularly moving between $3,500 and $4,300. The IWC Caliber 32111 inside is an automatic movement with a date function and 72 hours of power reserve. The case is 40 millimeters. But the detail worth knowing about is the inner case, soft iron surrounding the movement, designed to deflect magnetic interference. That design feature came directly from the original Mark 11, which IWC manufactured under contract for the British Royal Air Force beginning in 1948. Service record C, 6,639/45 is the RAF procurement document. The soft iron cage in the Mark XX is a direct descendant of a solution IWC built for pilots whose instrument panels were magnetic fields themselves. That heritage belongs entirely to IWC. Nobody else made that Mark 11. But pilot watches fell out of fashion in 2025 as buyers chased the dress watch revival that Chrono 24 and Fratello documented in their H1 2025 report. Demand for rectangular cases up 9.3%. Dress watch demand among Gen Z up 44% since 2018. When tastes shift that suddenly, the watches that don't fit the trend land at discounts regardless of what they actually are. The Mark XX became collateral damage in a trend it had nothing to do with. The watch itself didn't change. Its utility, its history, its movement quality, none of that moved. The price to own it did, and for once it moved in the buyer's favor. Something else worth understanding about the Mark XX specifically. IWC has been producing pilot watches for the RAF connection since NI. The original Mark 11 was tested under combat conditions, worn by pilots in jets that were magnetically hostile environments, and kept running because the soft iron cage kept the magnetic interference out. That's not marketing language, that's a technical requirement met by engineering. The Mark XX's soft iron inner case is not a heritage feature in the decorative sense. It's the same functional solution applied to a modern version of the same problem. If you wear a watch near MRI equipment, near airport security scanners, near industrial machinery, the Mark XX's protection is real in a way that most watches at this price point's protection is not. That's modern history, giving you a window. The next watch? The window there involves one of the best tool watches ever built, going briefly unloved. 5 Tudor Pelagos. There's a Watch Exchange forum thread from March 2026. Tudor Pelagos, blue dial, COSC certified MT, 5612 movement, titanium case, full set, including original packaging. Asking price, $3,200. Original retail was just over $4,000. The seller bought it in 2022 when Pelagos examples were moving above retail because everything was moving above retail. It's 100% genuine, near mint condition. Nobody's biting. The Pelagos launched in 2012 as Tudor's answer to the question of what a serious professional dive watch should cost. 42mm titanium case rated to 500 meters water resistance. Ceramic bezel insert. The caliber MT5612 is produced in La Chaux-de-Fonds using components from a manufacturing facility shared with Rolex, though Tudor develops and regulates their movements independently. It has been COSC certified since 2015. Anti-magnetic protection to 1,500 Gauss, a helium escape valve for saturation diving that almost no buyer will ever use, but that is there because Tudor built the thing to a real specification rather than a marketing one. During the pandemic frenzy, Pelagos examples were trading at $4,500, sometimes $5,000. Buyers were paying premiums on a tool watch because they couldn't find the premium tool watches they actually wanted. Tudor got dragged upward on the coattails of Rolex scarcity. And now? Now the secondary market is back to earth. The watch that was overpriced at $4,500 is now underpriced at $3,200. The titanium case, the in-house movement, the 500-meter rating, none of that changed when the market corrected. Only the asking price did. The seller on that forum thread has been waiting 6 weeks for a buyer. 6 weeks for a tool watch with a better water resistance rating than a professional Navy diver's daily issued equipment, at a price that represents 20% off a retail that was already considered fair. The patience required to own good things in an impatient market has always been the actual edge. So here's what the Pelagos at $3,200 actually means in 2026. In 2022, buyers were paying more than that for watches they didn't particularly want, from brands they didn't particularly respect, simply because those watches were available and the ones they wanted were not. The Pelagos got swept into that current. It came out the other side unchanged, still rated to 500 meters, still running an in-house movement, still wearing a titanium case that makes the watch feel like nothing on the wrist. The secondary market corrected it back to what it was always worth, and the seller who's been waiting 6 weeks for a buyer, they'll find one eventually. Because the person who discovers the Pelagos at this price will not be able to explain, after wearing it, why they waited this long. Tudor coming back to sensible prices is good news. But the next entry is where this list starts feeling different in a way that matters. Haute horlogerie at a discount. 4. A. Lange and Sonne Saxonia Thin. This is the one most people skip. Skipping it is a mistake. A Lang & Söhne was nationalized by the East German government in 1948. Production stopped. The entire watchmaking tradition built in Glashütte since 1845 went dark for over 40 years. Then, following reunification, Walter Lang, the great-grandson of the founder, restarted the company and presented the first new Lang collection on the 24th of October, 1994. All 4 watches introduced that day sold out in 24 hours. Not because of hype, because the people who had been waiting their entire careers to see what a fully independent Glashütte manufacturer could do in the modern era showed up with their wallets open. The Saxonia Thin is what Lange does when it strips everything back. No date, no complications beyond hours, minutes, and seconds. A manually wound movement, the caliber L093.1, regulated to COSC standards, with a bidirectional winding mechanism that Lange calls a fusee and chain system, the same technology used in 16th century pocket watches, implemented here to ensure constant torque throughout the mainspring's power reserve. The dial is solid silver, not silver-colored, actually solid silver that oxidizes slightly over time in a way that makes each dial unique. The indexes are applied gold. The case is 18-karat gold, which means there is no stainless steel version. The Saxonia Thin starts at roughly $19,000 new. On the secondary market in 2026, clean Saxonia Thin examples in yellow gold are trading between $15,000 and $17,000. That's still a significant amount of money. But it's German haute horlogerie at a discount. Movement finishing that rivals Patek Philippe, case quality that the collector community's most demanding members consistently rate above most Swiss competition, and a post-reunification origin story that nobody else can claim. The broader market correction hit Lange's price tier hard because Lange's buyers are mostly serious collectors, not speculators. When those buyers stopped purchasing at peak prices, there was no speculative floor underneath to catch the secondary market. The prices simply corrected. The Saxonia Thin is not for everyone. It's a dress watch. It doesn't dive, it doesn't time a lap, it doesn't glow in the dark. What it does is show you what happens when a watchmaker with a century and a half of tradition, a 42-year forced interruption, and something to prove, gets access to the finest machine tools in the world, and no marketing team telling them to hurry up. Would you spend this kind of money on a watch? And if not, what's your actual ceiling? From Glashütte to Geneva, the next watch has a moon landing attached to it, and it's cheaper than it's been in 5 years. 3. Omega Speedmaster Professional Moon Watch. The Haselite Moon Watch, reference 310.30.42.50, 1.001, caliber 3,861. Retails in the United States at $7,800. Secondary market in June 2026, $5,600. That's a 27.8% discount off retail on a watch that orbited the Earth in 1962, landed on the Moon in 1969, across all 6 Apollo landings, and is still in production today with the same 42mm asymmetric case and tachymeter bezel that defines the silhouette. The caliber 3,861 is the most significant update the Moonwatch has received since the 60s. Coaxial master chronometer certification from Metas means independent testing to 15,000 Gauss of magnetic resistance and a rate deviation of 0 to +5 seconds per day. The original 1969 Apollo moonwatches used the caliber 321, which was accurate to several seconds per day in any orientation and offered no anti-magnetic protection whatsoever. The watch that Neil Armstrong checked before every EVA step would fail modern Metas standards by a wide margin. The 2021 version wears the same case and passes tests the original never dreamed of. So what happened to the price? Omega didn't inflate the Speedmaster during the pandemic the way some brands did. The watch was already relatively accessible, so it didn't become a speculation target the way the Submariner or the Nautilus did. But Omega has raised retail prices across the board in the tariff cycle, and secondary market values haven't followed those increases upward. The gap widened. The watch got better. The pre-owned price didn't. For the person who has always wanted a moonwatch but watched the retail drift away from what they were comfortable spending, the secondary market in 2026 is that moment. You're buying a watch that went to the moon in a version technically superior to the one that actually went to the moon, for less than the retail price Omega is asking for it brand new. The original buyer absorbed a 27% loss the moment they walked out of the AD. You are inheriting the benefit of their impatience. The Haselite crystal is worth pausing on because it's one of the most misunderstood details on the watch. Haselite is a type of acrylic, softer than sapphire, scratches more easily, and doesn't shatter. NASA chose it for exactly that reason. A shattered sapphire crystal inside a space helmet is a debris hazard. A scratched hesylite crystal is not. The scratch resistance of sapphire was a problem in the context of a pressurized suit at zero gravity. So the 2021 caliber 3,861 Moonwatch with the hesylite crystal isn't a budget choice or a throwback affectation. It's the authentic continuation of a design decision that was made under survival conditions, preserved because the people who maintain the watch believe the logic that created it is still the right logic. The Sapphire Sandwich version, reference 310.30.42.50, 1.002, runs slightly higher at around $6,400 on secondary. Both exist. Both are the right watch. The hesylite is what the astronauts had. The sapphire shows you the movement. A Moonwatch at a discount is extraordinary. What comes next is historically unusual in a different way, because for the first time in years, you can actually buy these without a waiting list. 2. Rolex Submariner 124060, no date. A Rolex Submariner, below retail. In 2026, write that down somewhere, because this has not been a sentence you could say with a straight face since roughly 2019. During the pandemic, clean, no-date Submariners in stainless steel were trading between $14,000 and $18,000. The retail price at the time was under $8,000. Buyers were paying double, sometimes more, just to own one now, rather than spend 3 years on an authorized dealer's waiting list. Gray market dealers were pulling margins that watch enthusiasts had never seen outside of the Patek Philippe floor. The 124060 is the no-date variant. 41mm case, unidirectional rotating bezel with Cerachrom insert in black ceramic, oyster bracelet with glide lock extension. Caliber 3,230 inside. A movement Rolex manufactures entirely in-house, COSC certified. Superlative chronometer rated to -2 + 2 seconds per day after additional Rolex quality testing. 70 hours power reserve. Water resistant to 300 meters. The reference launched in 2020 as the successor to the 114060. US retail in 2026, after January price increases, sits at $10,050. Secondary market, between $9,500 and $11,000, depending on condition and whether you're buying from a dealer or a private seller. For some specific configurations, right now, you can find it at or below retail. That convergence, retail and secondary market touching or crossing, has not happened in the modern era on the Submariner. It happened on some two-tone and gold references when speculative premiums collapsed. It hasn't happened on the steel sports models. Until now. The watch chart's Rolex Submariner Index has dropped nearly 11% over 2 years. The Root Beer GMT Master crossed below retail in mid-2025. The no-date sub followed. So, what changed? 3 things happened at once. Rolex opened additional production capacity, ending the artificial scarcity that drove premiums in the first place. The speculative buyer pool, people who bought Submariners as investment assets rather than watches, exited after they realized the returns were gone. And the tariff cycle raised US retail prices while secondary market demand stalled. The result is a steel Submariner at a price that, for the first time in years, a buyer can consider on its merits rather than its scarcity. The merits are not in dispute. This is one of the finest mechanical watches in regular production. Nothing about the movement, the case quality, the bracelet finishing, or the water resistance changed when the secondary price normalized. Only the flipper's margin disappeared. The Submariner at retail is something most collectors never expected to see. But the watch at number 1? This is where the correction becomes something that might never happen again. 1. Rolex Daytona 116500LN. In March 2022, a stainless steel Rolex Daytona Cosmograph, reference 116500LN, with the black ceramic bezel, traded on the secondary market at over $50,000. The retail price at the time was $14,500. People were paying 3.5 times retail for a production watch from a brand that has never once produced fewer than 1 million watches in a year. The reason was simple and insane in equal measure. The 116500LN had been in production since 2016 and was essentially unobtainable through authorized dealers. Rolex allocated it sparingly. Dealer waitlists stretched years. The gray market capitalized on that scarcity in a way that turned the Daytona into something closer to a financial instrument than a watch. Hedge funds were factoring pre-owned Rolex inventory into portfolio discussions. Watch dealers were quoting units, the way commodity traders quote barrels. Then Rolex opened the Bienne facility, expanded manufacturing, raised authorized dealer allocations. The speculators, who had bought Daytonas as assets rather than watches, started selling when they realized the premium was compressing. Forced liquidation followed. More sellers than buyers. The market found its floor, and its floor is around $32,000 to $33,000 in 2026. Retail, with the January 2026 price increase, sits at $16,900 in the US. Let me be direct about what that means. The secondary market price for the 116500LN is still roughly double its retail price. That's not cheap in any absolute sense. But the watch that was $50,000 4 years ago is $32,000 today. If you'd bought at the peak, you've lost nearly 40% of the purchase price. If you're buying now, you're paying 63% less than someone who paid peak prices in 2022. The 116500LN is powered by caliber 4130, Rolex's entirely in-house chronograph movement. No Valjoux base, no ETA derivation. Rolex designed and manufactures the vertical clutch, the column wheel, the chronograph bridge, every component in-house. The movement is rated to -2 + 2 seconds per day. The ceramic bezel insert is molded at temperatures above 1000 degrees Celsius and is effectively scratch-proof. The oyster case is water-resistant to 100 meters. These are documented specifications that exist before you factor in any brand mythology. The collector who has been waiting to own this watch, not flip it, not use it as an asset, but actually wear it on their wrist and run the chronograph hand at the start of a long drive, that person's window is open right now. Whether it stays open is a different question. The market stabilized in late 2025 and has started recovering slightly. But the gap between what this watch cost in 2022 and what it costs today is a moment that doesn't appear often. The secondary market at peak was a referendum on scarcity. The secondary market right now is closer to a referendum on what the watch is actually worth, which turns out to be considerably less than what desperate buyers once paid and considerably more than what a watch this well-built probably should cost. So, which of these watches do you own and which one would you love to buy? Let me know in the comments. Like and subscribe.